In this video, I've put together all 3 parts to my very popular series, Biblical Secrets to Create Infinite Wealth. If you would like to learn what God says about building wealth His way, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. I put all 3 of the trainings together so you don't have to go look for them. And with no further ado, let's get into it. What if I told you that God has instituted an incredible way for His people to create infinite amounts of wealth? Well, in today's training, we're going to be going over exactly what I mean. Guys, Rick Pino here, and today we're going to be going over God's way to build wealth. I'm going to be breaking open some scriptures for you that maybe you haven't quite seen them this way in the past, but I'm telling you right now, the principles that I'm going to be sharing with you guys and gals today have literally caused my wife and I to go from living below the poverty line to just in the past few years alone, we have made over 8 figures. Yes, tens of millions of dollars. Not to boast in anything that we have done. All of this has come from principles that we have found in the Bible. So buckle up because we're going to be going over all of it today. Guys, today's video starts with a story. Just a few years ago, I was in the nation of India and I was leading a missions team there. And, we were there for missions work, doing meetings and stuff. And one morning we took off from the hotel. It was pretty early. It was probably 8 o'clock in the morning, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And if you've ever been to India, even 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, sometimes it can get very, very hot. We stop at the stoplight, okay? And there's a group of men at the stoplight and they are busting the concrete, right? They had the jackhammers, they're there working hard, man. They're busting up the old concrete. They're pouring new concrete. Like I said, it's only 7 or 8 in the morning. They're already pouring sweat. They are working hard. And for whatever reason, I just took notice like, whoa, man, it's pretty early and these guys are already out there getting it. They're like working, man. Didn't think much of it. We went off and we finished the rest of the day, did all of our meetings and did our outreaches, all that stuff, and then at the end of the day, we load back up into the buses. And on the way back to the hotel, we just so happened to stop at the same exact stoplight. And the same guys were in the same place doing the same work. Guys, it was 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. I'm talking it was like 12 hours later. And these guys were still out there breaking up the concrete, like same guys, pouring new concrete, hauling rocks, like just insanely hard work, right? And by the way, just because it's 8 or 9 o'clock at night doesn't mean it got cooler. Like it's still blazing hot. These guys are out there working, 10, 12, 13, 14 hours in the blazing heat, smashing concrete. And I want to ask you a question. Is the answer for these guys to make more wealth, is the answer to go up to them and say, hey guys, listen, if you want to make more wealth, I know you're probably not making too much, here doing construction in India, but if you want to make more wealth, guys, all you got to do is just work a little bit harder. It's a silly question because the answer is obvious. It's not yes. The answer is no, that is not how you build wealth. Guys, I want to encourage you. Hard work alone will not make you wealthy. Think about this for a moment, okay? Are people who are making 10 times more money than you, are they working 10 times harder than you? Probably not. Why? Because I can't help but think, every single one of us at our jobs, we're putting in 40 hours a week at a job, at a job, right? Maybe you're really crushing it or you're putting in some overtime. You're working 50 hours a week. Maybe you're just like killing yourself, putting in 60, 70, 80, 100 hours a week, right? And let's say from all of this hard work, maybe you're making $100,000 a year, okay? So someone who makes $1 million a year, are they working, if you're working 100 hours a week, are they working 1,000 hours a week? The answer is no. Like it's physically impossible for them to be working 10 times harder than you. So how in the world is it that people are out here making tons of money and not even working as hard as you? And honestly, guys, a lot of people who make way more money than what you're making right now, chances are, not only are they not working harder than you, 10 times harder than you, chances are they're probably working less than you and not as hard as you. Why is this? Because the principle that works for the guys smashing concrete in India, the principle that works for, someone that makes 10 times more than you is not working 10 times harder than you. The principle is this, guys. We have got to learn how to separate our time from our dollar. Come with me here to the board. I want to paint a picture for you right quick. So here's what most people do, okay? Most people, this is a clock, by the way, okay? Most people are stuck in this infinite loop. And what is the infinite loop? The infinite loop is I'm trading my time for my dollar. I'm trading my time for my dollar. What's the problem with this scenario? I'm glad you asked, because I'm going to tell you the problem with this scenario is that the only way, if you're using your time to make money, the only way to make more money is to either work harder, which we've already just established. There's a certain limit where you physically cannot work any harder, or to work longer, which again, all of us only have a limited amount of time in the day. Like, it's going to come to the point where you can't work 25 hours in a day. It's impossible. So because your time is connected to your dollar, here's what's going on, okay? Because your earning potential, your dollar, is connected to something that is limited, your time, then guess what? Unfortunately, your earning potential is now limited. This is what 98% of people around the world do. They go to school so that they can go to college, so that they can get a job, so that they can pay for their schooling. It's this infinite loop. It's that infinity sign right there. It's the infinite cycle of just, I am stuck in the hamster wheel of trying to figure this out. And the only way to make more is to either work harder or to work longer. Guys, I'm here to tell you right now, this is not the way to build wealth. It was Warren Buffett, the billionaire, who said it like this: if you don't learn how to make money while you sleep, then you will work until you die. Guys, I don't know about you, but I am not trying to work harder or longer all the way until my deathbed. Like, I don't know about you. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got precious kids. I want to spend as much time with them as possible. I want to go do all the things that God has put in my heart to do. I want to go serve people around the world in missions. I want to do things. I want to go on vacation. Like, I don't want to be spending all of my time working super hard and super long just to hopefully get in this infinite loop of trying to make money, guys. So what is the solution for this? Well, number one, we've got to elevate our mindsets that we cannot have our time connected to our dollar. Like, think about this. So many people, they limit themselves by having a high-paying job. Like, I know that might ruffle some feathers here, but so many people, I believe that so many people's limitation is they finally make 6 figures a year. And you might be watching going, 6 figures a year? I would love to make 6 figures a year. That would be awesome, but you know what's more awesome? What if you could make 6 figures a month? What if you could make 6 figures a week? What if you could make 6 figures in a day? Guys, I'm here to tell you, not only is this possible, but my students have done this. I have done this. Not only have I made 6 figures in a day, I've made 7 figures in a day. I've had students make $700,000 in one single day. Now, I know you might be sitting here listening going, this is crazy. Like, that's impossible. You know, he's got to be lying. Guys, I'm here to tell you the honest truth. When you learn how to disconnect your time from your dollar and you begin to step into what I'm about to show you next in the training here that comes from the Word of God, when you learn how to do this ancient wisdom secret that God put right in His Word, everything begins to change, okay? So don't limit yourself by just trying to find a nice paying job. Think about it, guys. No job in the world is going to pay you $10,000 an hour, $50,000 an hour. Like, it gets really, really, really hard to generate real wealth, and not just wealth for you, but generational wealth. It gets very hard to create generational wealth whenever you are connected, whenever you are connected in your earning potential to something as limited as time. Guys, I want to help you today, okay? Let's come back to here to the board. I want to break down a couple more concepts for you. So here's how it works, okay? Here's what most people do. Most people who are trading their time for their dollar, actually, I'll just bring it back to the other page here. Here's what most people do, okay? When you are stuck in the infinite loop of trading my time for my dollar, right? Here's what happens. People work, they work, they work, they work, they work, they work, and then finally, either every Friday or every 2 weeks or every month, however it works, finally, after all this work, they finally get paid once. Now, can I ask you a question? Like, how many of you guys and gals, you got bills like not just once every 2 weeks, you got bills every day, man, right? Like you got to go to the grocery store. You got to put gas, right? You got to pay the cell phone bill. You got to pay your rent or your mortgage. You got to pay insurance, right? Like you have all of these bills, and it is so mind-blowing to me that people, they get paid on this cycle of work, then get paid. They're on this cycle, and I'm telling you guys right now, if you look in your bank account, it's like bill, and then once every Friday or every 2 weeks or every month, however your pay cycle is, it's pay, it's income, expense, income. What if you could flip this on its head, and when you look at your bank account, what if you can see income, expense, income, expense, income, expense, income. Guys, that is exactly what you can do when you do the word. So what we want to do is we want to go from this model of work, get paid once in a while, to this model that I'm about to teach you guys, where you can work one time and then get paid. Now you might be sitting here going, man, this sounds crazy. Guys, I want to bring you value. In fact, if you're getting value right now, smash the like button, okay? Like and subscribe to the channel. I'm about to break this open for you guys out of the Bible. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. Watch this. So yes, it is possible to, one more time, just for a reminder, it is possible to go from this, work, get paid, to this, work, get paid. How is it possible? It's possible because of one of the principles here in God's word. Deuteronomy 8:18 says it like this. Remember the Lord, it is He who gives you the power to create wealth. And then the next part says, so that He may establish His covenant with you. Now, here's what I want to submit to you. Before I break this verse down, okay? Here's what I want to submit to you. God can't just be right about heaven and wrong about everything else. What does that mean? Most of God's people, I believe that the reason why most of God's people struggle financially is because they have conflicting internal beliefs around the subject of money, of wealth, of prosperity, of abundance, right? They're like, oh man, this is what most believers do, right? They don't understand what I'm about to break down for you here in Deuteronomy 8:18. Most believers are like, oh man, we don't want to be so greedy by having too much money. Like, oh man, gosh, money's wicked. And if you have a lot of money, you're greedy and money's evil, like beware, right? But That's coming out of one side of their mouth. Out of the other side of their mouth, it's also like, would you please sow a seed? Like, we're trying to build the youth building. We want to send all these missionaries to the missions field. Like, would you please sow? Like, you know, it's like, which one do you want me to do? Do you want me to go generate wealth so that I can give? Or do you just want me to somehow give and stay broke and in a scarcity mindset? Like, these things don't work together, right? So we have got to begin to elevate our belief around what the Bible says, what God has said in his word about wealth, about abundance, about prosperity, about having an abundance mindset, okay? I believe that the secret to separating your time from your dollar and staying in that infinite loop of like the hamster wheel, like, man, I never can get ahead. The secret is found right here in this verse. Come with me back to the board. Watch this. So first thing I want to make mention here, and I'm just going to put a pin in this and I'm going to come back to this, but watch that. Remember the Lord, okay? But watch this. Here's what most believers do. Most believers read this verse, remember the Lord, for it is he who gives you the power to create wealth, right? And so most believers read this and they go, oh my goodness, God said he's going to give me wealth. And guys, I'm here to tell you, this is not what the verse says, right? In fact, nowhere in this verse is God saying that he is going to give you wealth. What is this verse actually saying? It's saying that God is going to give you, what's he going to give you? The power to create wealth. Okay? So don't for a minute hear this and be like, oh man, God's going to give me wealth. Like, and this is what most believers do, guys. Most believers, whenever you have a financial need, you're like, oh God, you know, please supply my needs and give me wealth. Amen. And most believers have this mindset that all of a sudden it's just going to poof into your bank account. Like, it was a miracle. Thank you, God, you gave me wealth. But guys, I'm here to tell you, this is not how God has established his kingdom. In fact, it's my conviction that it was not God's will for his people to live off of miracles alone. What does that mean? Do you remember the story of the Israelites whenever they were in the desert, right? It wasn't God's will for them to live off of manna every single day. No, it was God's will for them to believe him at his word and to go take the promised land. But most believers today, just like the Israelites of old, they are comfortable by just living in the wilderness going, I just need enough to get by, God. No, we don't want to be greedy. We don't want to go for too much. You know, one of the most selfish mindsets that a person can have is, I don't want too much money, right? Because if I do, then I'll be greedy. But let me ask you a question. When you don't have any money, all you can do is pray for somebody, right? But you know what's even better than just praying for somebody? And by the way, praying for someone, that's powerful. But what if you were to have wealth and prosperity and abundance and overflow? Not only would you just be able to pray for someone, you would also be able to give to them and to help solve their needs. Guys, when you have this mindset that, oh, we don't want to be greedy, God, we just want enough to get by, that's a selfish mindset, because when you have just enough to get by, you can't take care of anybody else. I want to submit to you guys, listen, broke people don't build hospitals, right? Scarcity mindset people, they don't build schools. People who just have enough, right? They're not taking care of people, man. They're just worried about themselves. You've got to get a bigger vision for what God has for your future and your finances, and it's connected right here to Deuteronomy 8:18. Let's dive back in. Watch this. So no, God isn't saying that he's going to just straight up give you wealth, but what he is saying is that he wants to give you the power to create wealth. Watch this. Do you remember the analogy I gave you where most people, they have their time connected to their dollar? You guys remember that? And the infinite loop of just being stuck right here, right? Well, here's God's way. This is God's secret to building wealth. God says, I don't want you to connect your time to your dollar. I want you to connect What is this? I want you to connect your creativity to your dollar. Your creativity. I need at least 5 people in the comments right now. Drop these words. Creativity. The very first thing that God told us about himself. Out of all the things that God is, he's a father, he's a provider, right? He's our healer, he's all these amazing things. But the very first thing that God told us about himself was that he was a creator. In the beginning, God created, right? And then what was the first thing he told us about ourselves? He said, you are created in my image. Guys, God the Creator created us so that we can be creative. How are you going to break out of the hamster wheel of, I don't know how to get ahead, I'll never have enough money, this is so hard, I'm already working extremely hard, I'm stressed, and we just feel like we can't ever get ahead? How are you going to break out of that hamster wheel? You've got to step in to your God likeness. You got to step into Deuteronomy 8:18 and understand that God wants to give you the power to create, the power to create, the power to create. Someone drop that in the comments. The power to create wealth. When you begin to connect your creativity to your dollar, something incredible happens. Come back with me to the board. Watch this. So in this model, the infinite loop of just staying stuck in the hamster wheel of trading your time for your dollar, okay, you can't break out of it, right? Because you got to give time, and you don't have that much time left, but you need more money to live, so you got to give time, and then on and on and on. But watch this. When you have your creativity connected to your dollar, okay, this is how we do the work one time. And then after that, we can get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid. What do you mean, Rick? What does that mean? How do you just work one time and then just get paid over and over and over again? Guys, you've got to tap into your creativity, into your God likeness, right? What if you were to write a book, right, on the thing that you're passionate about? Maybe it's an ebook. Maybe you could create a course. Maybe you could do an online training on something that comes easy to you and maybe harder to others, right? So what does that mean? If you create a course, now obviously you'll have to work, you have to put that course together, but you do the work one time, and then after you release the course out there to the market, guess what happens? Someone buys that thing every single day. And a lot of times, not just one person, but maybe 3 people, maybe 5 people, maybe 10 people, maybe 100 people every single day buy your creativity, the value that you brought out of your creativity. And guys, that is how you can begin to separate your time from your dollar. Because watch this. Like I said earlier, when your time is connected to your dollar, okay, now your earning potential is connected to something limited like time. But when you connect your creativity to your dollar, creativity is infinite, right? There's no cap on creativity. So when you connect your earning potential to something infinite like creativity, then guess what else happens? Your earning potential becomes unlimited. What if you created an ebook? What if you created a course? That's something that I teach my students how to do, is how to put together a digital product. Right? What if you had 2 ebooks? What if you had 5 courses? Then now it wouldn't just be one of those products working for you, it would be multiple products working for you. Hey, I really hope that you're enjoying the video. I want to invite you guys. I have recently created a free training teaching people how to make money online. My students are literally making anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and some of them even make hundreds of thousands of dollars, not in a year, but in a single day. If you want more information on how you can get started, all you need is a phone and a laptop. You can go to digitalproductacademy.org, or you can click the link below in the description. Guys, after you watch the free training, if it sounds like it might be something cool for you to check out, you can book a free call with one of my client success coaches, and they'll be able to help you more. Now, back to the video. This scripture, Deuteronomy 8:18. Now watch this. I want to break this down for you a little bit more, okay? When you begin to connect yourself to the truth and the reality in this scripture, something powerful begins to happen. Okay? So remember the Lord is he who gives you the power to create. And what are we doing with that creativity? We are specifically using it to create wealth. Guys, here's what happens when we do this. When we tap into our God-likeness and we begin to create wealth out of our creativity, guess what happens? God uses that to establish his covenant with you. Okay? But it gets better, guys. I want to actually take a peek here into this word, power. Okay? Remember the Lord, for it is he who gives you the power to create wealth. This word power here, can I take a few minutes and just break this down for you? I really know that you guys and gals are going to get crazy value out of this next part. Okay? If you haven't yet, go ahead and like and subscribe. Check this out. Okay? This word power here, okay? This is the Hebrew word 𝐂𝐤. Okay? When I discovered this, I was doing a word study through Deuteronomy 8:18. When I discovered what I'm about to share with you, my mind was literally just blown out of excitement. Number one, because the word 𝐂𝐤, one of my son's names is Koa. So I was like, hey, that's like my son's name, Koa. And my son's name is very similar to this Hebrew word. The meaning of the word 𝐂𝐤 here in the Hebrew, it means all the things that you would think it means initially, like, remember the Lord is he who gives you the power to create wealth, right? So power to create. So does it mean ability? Yes. Does it mean capacity? Yes. Remember the Lord, it's he who gives you the capacity to create wealth, the ability to create wealth. Yes. Does it mean strength? And like big explosive strength? Yes, it means all those things. But watch this. There is one other meaning at the very end in the Strong's Concordance. The last listed meaning of this word really blew me away. Watch this. Not only does this word 𝐂𝐤 or power mean all the things that you think it means, but you know what else it means? It also means the word chameleon. What? Yes, a chameleon. Let's see if I could draw one here. Okay, there's his tail. Let's see if I can get his little feet here. Okay, here's another foot. Oh man, I'm not the best drawer. I don't even know what a lizard. That looks kind of like a rat. But I don't know how to draw a lizard, but you guys see what I'm talking about here, okay? So yes, like the lizard, the chameleon lizard. Okay? And I started reading this. I said, wait a second. Remember the Lord, because it is he who makes you like the chameleon so that you can get wealth. That's one of the ways that this verse reads. And I said, makes you like the chameleon so you can get wealth. And you know what the Holy Spirit spoke to me immediately? He said, I want my people to understand when you disconnect your time from your dollar and you learn how to connect your creativity to your dollar, not only do you get out of the infinite loop of I can't get out of this, now you can have an infinite amount of money because your creativity is limitless. And watch this, guys. Now you can go from work to get paid. But guys, just like the chameleon blends into this economy and this tree and that tree, I believe that God's people, when you tap into this truth, you can blend into this economy, that economy. It doesn't matter if there's a recession. It doesn't matter if there's a pandemic. It doesn't matter what's going on, because now the economy is not happening to us. We as God's people who are tapped in to the revelation of Deuteronomy 8:18, we now create our own economy. Just like a chameleon can blend in here and there, we will be able to blend into any economic situation that comes our way. Guys, when you become an entrepreneur, listen, nothing wrong with having a job, but when you become an entrepreneur, you tap in to this Deuteronomy 8:18 reality where God begins to release the power to create wealth. Guys, what happens? You become like that chameleon, right? You can blend in here, blend in there. And guys, I'm telling you this right now. You literally go from like, oh man, I make whatever, 20 bucks an hour, 25 bucks an hour. If only I could make 26 bucks an hour. You go from that to going, man, instead of making 6 figures a year, I'm gonna start making 6 figures a month. And after I make 6 figures a month, I'm gonna make 6 figures in a week. And after I make 6 figures in a week, I am gonna go to make 6 figures in a day, because now I'm earning not with my time, not with the sweat of my brow. I'm earning through the creativity that God gave me, right? Through the creative nature that lives on the inside of each and every one of us, guys. You might be sitting here watching the training today going, well, I don't even know what in the world I would do. I don't know what I would teach. I don't know what I would sell. Guys, I need you to understand. Come in close to me. Come in close. Now listen. I need you to realize something today. You are more special than you can absolutely imagine. You are more special than you realize, okay? You might be sitting here and saying, well, man, whatever, I've been a car salesman for 20 years. That's not very special. Or, man, I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I'm a stay-at-home dad. Like, that's not very special. Or, I mean, I'm a barista. Like, that's not very special. Guys, I'm telling you right now, no matter what you do, there are people who wish they knew what you know. I was explaining this to my mother-in-law the other day. It was so precious. I love her so much. Shout out mom-in-law, if you're watching this. But I was explaining this to her, and she was like, that is so cool that you're helping people do this. And she's like, I wonder what I would do, because, you know, I've just been a nana. And I said, just a nana? First of all, you had 5 of your own kids, and then you have like a bajillion grandkids. Literally, she has like probably 20 or 30 grandkids, maybe more, right? I'm like, you are the best nana. You're always prepared. Like, you have all these hacks. You've literally taught your kids how to raise their kids. There are so many people who wished, like new moms or new families who wish they could be like, what should I do about this? You've already been there, done that 100 times. Not just for her, but the same thing goes for you. There are people who wish they knew how to be a barista. There are people who wish they knew how to homeschool their kids. There are people who wished they knew how to flip sneakers on the internet. There are people who wish they knew the knowledge that you have. You're like, that's not very special to me. But guys, I'm telling you, just because it doesn't feel special to you doesn't mean that it's not special to everyone else. And guys, I'm telling you right now, I teach my students every single day how to take that thing that they already do, the knowledge they already have, the expertise, the passion they already have, turn it in through their creativity, turn it into a digital product, put it out there one time, and then it begins to pay them over and over and over and over again. Okay, so let me come back to Deuteronomy 8:18. So now that you're like, okay, God's gonna help me become like this chameleon, right? So that I can blend in no matter what's going on in the economy. I'm gonna be able to thrive and not just survive. Guys, when you do this, remember earlier I said, watch this part first. Remember the Lord? Guys, can I break it down for you like this? Like, when I begin to learn this, something interesting happened. When the wisdom of God began to be released over this idea, over this truth, like, wow, we can make wealth, we can create wealth out of our creativity. Here's what happens. The reason why so many people, they feel like things are expensive is because if you're trading your time for your dollar and you're working at your job, right? Then guess what? Things are expensive. Because let's say you make 20 bucks an hour working at your job. Like, you go out to dinner, that salad doesn't just cost $10, that salad cost you 30 minutes of your life. Of course it's expensive, right? If you make 20 bucks an hour and you wanna go buy that $100 purse, the purse doesn't just cost $100, the purse costs you 5 hours of your life. Of course that's expensive, right? You've gotta break out of that system, break into this. And so when I begin to tap into this, I begin to see, wow, this is incredible. And guys, something amazing begin to happen. When you begin to start generating wealth and paying for things, please listen to me, not paying for things out of your time, paying for things out of your creativity, guess what happens? Making money God's way, it's really, really easy. I've seen this in my own life. I've seen this in my students' lives. I've seen people literally go from like, this is so expensive to like 10,000 bucks, 20,000 bucks, 50,000, 100,000, whatever. I'm just gonna come up with a new offer. I'll come up with a new creative way to pay for it, right? So when you begin to tap into this, why do we need to remember the Lord? Because God has set this up to where if you do this, if you begin to generate wealth out of your creativity, guess what happens? Making money gets easy. And the easier making money gets, the harder it is to, watch this, remember the Lord. I love God. I love that He anchored this incredible reality. He anchored all of this. Guys, here's the secret to begin to generate and build wealth. But He anchored everything in this statement, remember the Lord. Guys, God wants us to be blessed. He wants us to prosper. He wants us to live in abundance. He wants His people to be the head and not the tail. And this is one of the primary ways that we can do this, okay? Let me finish this training with leaving you one more thought out of the book of Ephesians. Watch this. Book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verses 15 and 16. This is Paul the Apostle talking, and he says it like this. He says, guys, I want you to walk wise and not as fools, okay? And then he goes on to say, oops, I think I spelled that wrong, but you guys know what I'm saying. Redeeming the time. Why? You guys know this one. Because the days are evil. Now, first and foremost here, we see that Paul the Apostle is encouraging us. Guys, I want you to walk wise, right? I need at least 10 people in the comments to drop those two words, walk wise. He says, guys, I want you to walk wise, not as fools, but I want you to walk wise. So what does it mean to walk wise? I'm glad you asked. Let me show you what it says here, okay? Now, I don't know if you're like me. I grew up, with a faith background. I grew up going to Sunday school, all that stuff. I've heard this verse taught on many, many, many times. And every time I hear it taught on, it's like, oh, you better redeem the time, like make sure you're living right because the days are evil. But guys, that's not what this verse is saying, okay? The word redeem here, let me break this down for you here. The word redeem, my misspelled redeem, this word redeem here literally means, how do you spell redeem? There it is, I think so. It literally means to redeem. What does redeem mean? To buy back. So Paul is saying, if you want to walk wise, you need to learn how to buy back your time. I was sharing this the other day, and somebody said, well, what about this part where it says, redeeming the time because the days are evil? A lot of people here, they see that word evil and they think of like, devils or something like that. Like, oh, it's evil. But guys, literally what this verse is saying here is if you want to be wise, then you need to buy back or redeem your time because life can get kind of hard sometimes. What does that mean? How many of you guys and gals watching, maybe you have little kids, maybe you feel like you're stuck in your job, maybe your loved ones are, God forbid, maybe they're sick or something right now. Right? Don't you wish you could spend more time with those people? Don't you wish you could do more for those people? Well, you can't if you have to always be trading your time for dollars. Or worse yet, when you're not trading your time for your dollars, you're also doing things like whatever, mowing your own lawn or trying to change your own oil just to save a couple of bucks, right? You're literally seeing money as more valuable than time. But I want to leave you with this thought, okay? If somebody were to walk up to you and say, hey, I would love to give you $1 million for free. How many of you guys and gals would be like, okay, sweet. Like most everyone would say yes to that. But what if the offer came with this contingency? Many of you still believe that your money is more valuable than time. But watch this, and I'm going to end with this thought. Check this out. What if somebody came up to you? This is why money is not more valuable than time, okay? What if someone came up to you and said, hey, I would love to give you $1 million? How many of you guys would like that, right? Most people would be like, okay, cool. But what if it came with this contingency? The only contingency is, the one catch is that you can't wake up tomorrow. How many of you guys want that $1 million now? No one is saying yes to that. Why? Because subconsciously you understand the fact that your time is more valuable than money. What about this situation? Let's say, God forbid, a loved one gets sick, right? And the doctor comes in and says, listen, they're terminal, they're sick, but there is a cure. And it only costs $1 million. And 100% of people who take this cure, they're 100% healed. Would you like to do this? If you had that $1 million, you wouldn't even think twice about it. You'd say, absolutely, let's get him healed right now. Why? Because your time or your life is infinitely more valuable than money. So why in the world are you trading your time for your dollar? Guys, I want to encourage you, let's walk wise and learn how to buy back our time with being creative the way that God has created us to be, right? So that we can not just work, and get paid. I want to see you guys and gals tap into Deuteronomy 8:18. Remember the Lord, it's He who gives you the power to create wealth so that He can establish His covenant with you. So that way, guys, you can learn out of your creativity how to work, then get paid. What if I told you that God has instituted a way for His people to create infinite amounts of wealth? Yes, it's true. However, the biggest problem that most Christians have is that they think that things like poverty and lack are good because somehow poverty and lack make us more holy or more spiritual. My question to you is, if poverty is so good, then why does the Bible tell us to give to the poor? If we gave to the poor, wouldn't that mean that we were taking away from their holiness or their spirituality? In today's video, I'm going to be going over part 2 of my series, Biblical Secrets to Create Infinite Wealth. So it's actually pretty mind-blowing to me that many people who call themselves Christians are like the prosperity police out here, like yelling and making sure that everyone bewares of the love of money, which obviously we should beware of the love of money. But just as much as we should be aware of the love of money, we should also understand that what the anointing is to the spirit, money is to the natural. It's simply a tool that allows us to do bigger things, it allows us to do more things, and it allows us to do all of those things faster. Money is simply a tool, just like the anointing, whose source is God, right? And so we need to understand that in order for us to not just be like scared of money, because beware of the love of money, and you should be scared of money, right? Instead of having that perspective in that context around the subject of money and finances and wealth, we need to have the perspective of more money equals more ministry. More money equals more things that we can do for the kingdom. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't understand this, then you're going to go through life struggling, broke, having a super hard time, doing a lot of prayer. But remember this, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. This is what a lot of Christians are doing right now. They're doing the same things over and over. Like, I'm praying for money, I'm praying for financial breakthrough, and they're expecting different results, even though they're not taking different action. Faith without works, faith without action is dead. So in today's training, I want to give you a couple of different insights, specifically today from the life of Solomon, that I know if you were to take these insights and apply them to your life, then you're going to go from being broke as a joke, and you're going to go from where you are to where you want to be. So before we jump into today's training, I'm going to do a very quick and simple recap from part 1 of this series on biblical secrets to create infinite wealth. In fact, if you missed part 1, I'm just going to link it down here below. But come with me over here to the board, and we're just going to jump right on in. So on part 1, we established kind of our foundation was found in Deuteronomy 8:18. If you remember, this verse says, "Remember the Lord because it is he who gives you the power to create wealth. One of the things that we established in the last training on this subject is that what God is not saying in this verse is God is not saying, I am going to give you wealth. See, a lot of people read Deuteronomy 8:18, they're like, oh, thank you, God, you're going to give me wealth. And God's saying, I didn't necessarily say that. What it is saying is that God will give us the power to create wealth. Okay? And so this word here, if you remember from last time, okay, this word here, power, is the Hebrew word 𝐑𝐢𝐜, okay? And this word here, it means all the things that you would think it means as far as, you know, ability. It means, you know, energy, right? All the things that you would think that the word power means. But if you remember from last time, this word also means it's also the Hebrew word for chameleon, the lizard, right? I'm probably spelt that wrong. But for me, one of the things that this verse is saying is that not only is God saying, it's not my perfect will for you to try to build wealth with your time and your energy, right? Because most people, the reason why most Christians and most people are broke is because they think making a lot of money is really hard. And rightfully so, because they're thinking from the mindset and the frame of, I trade my time for dollars. So because my time and my energy are given to create wealth, then the only way to make a bunch of money is to work way harder and work way longer. So making a lot of money must be very difficult. That's how most people think about this. But what God is giving to us and saying to us here is, I want to make you like the chameleon. What is a chameleon? A chameleon is a lizard that can blend into the different atmospheres. And the way I broke it down last time was, I believe that one of the things God is saying here is that he is going to make us very versatile in the way that we are able to adjust to this economy, this market crash, this upswing, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Because when you begin to create wealth from your creativity, the power to create, right? The power to create wealth. When you begin to create wealth from your creativity and not from your time and your effort, guess what happens? Now, you don't live according to the world's economy. You start to tap into God's economy, which is, I am not my money and my source, who is God, that my provision is not connected to what the world says is happening in the economy or not. God as my source has given me the power to create, the power to be creative, that I'm going to come up with creative ideas to solve people's problems in a specific niche or market. And the bigger problems I can solve, the more money I can make. So that's one of the biggest things that we established in the first episode of Biblical Secrets to Create Infinite Wealth. Okay, so now that we have this recap, and now that we have a little bit of a reminder of a foundation, I want to go even deeper into the concept of God wanting his people to step in and live in abundance and prosperity. Like I mentioned in part number 1 for this series, I think a lot of times people get this misconception that, prosperity is bad, simply because we have seen the word prosperity attached to a lot of slimy stuff connected to the church, specifically with people trying to, use the gospel for their own means and to use the gospel to try to get rich, when that's not God's will at all. What is God's will, I believe, is for his people to begin to tap in to their God-likeness, to their creativity. Remember, the very first thing that God told us about himself is he said, I'm a creator. Like, think about that. Like, the first thing God told us about himself was not, I'm a father, I'm a provider, I'm just, I'm jealous, I've got fire in my eyes. He has all of that. He is all of those things. But the first thing God told us about himself was, I'm a creator. How do I know this? Because it says, Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created, right? So it is my conviction that God, the creator, created us to be creative. And the way that we are going to tap in to the possibility of infinite income is to say, I am going to disconnect my time from my dollar, and I'm going to connect my creativity to my income. Since time and effort are limited, if they're connected to your earning potential will now be limited. But because your creativity, especially as a son or a daughter of God, is unlimited, when you connect that to your earning potential, now your earning potential becomes unlimited. Okay, so now that we've done a brief recap of part 1 of this series, let's dive in even deeper, okay? When it comes to being a believer, most Christians are crying out for a financial breakthrough. God, please give us a breakthrough in our finances. But I submit to you that most people need a mindset breakthrough instead of a financial breakthrough, okay? In fact, I need at least 10 people in the comments right now to drop these 2 words, mindset breakthrough, okay? It's not that you need a financial breakthrough, you do, but what you need in order to get a financial breakthrough is a mindset breakthrough. We've got to begin to lift our vision higher, guys. Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20 says, now to him who is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all you could ask, think, or imagine. My question to you is, when is the last time that you asked God for the impossible? When's the last time that you imagined with God, what would it look like to make 10 times more money than I am now? Who could I help? Who could I serve? Like, what good could I do in the earth? And apart from just all the good we could do, how much more options would my family have? Like, how much less stress would we have if we were making 10 times more, 20 times more, 50 times more money than we are now? And the cool part about Ephesians 3:20 is it ends with saying, it's all according to his power that works in you. Biggest thing, guys, is we need to get our mindset right to exceedingly, abundantly, above all we could ask, think, or imagine. See, most people in God's kingdom, we're not living in the exceedingly. We're not living in the above, right? We're living in the just barely getting by. But I want to submit to you, we've got to lift our vision higher. We've got to expand our mindset when it comes to wealth God's way. Now, how are we going to do this? If you're new around here, maybe you've heard me talk about this before, but just in the past few years alone, my wife and I, our businesses have done tens of millions of dollars in sales. That's not to boast in anything that we have done. It's simply to say 100% of the success that we have seen in our businesses have come from biblical insights. And I'm going to go even deeper in some of those insights today in this training, specifically insights from the life of King Solomon. So I submit to you, the reason why most people in God's family are broke is simply because they have faith for miracles, but they don't have faith to walk in wisdom. In fact, if you're taking notes, or if you just want to drop it in the comments, how about 5-10 people drop this in the comments? Wisdom is better than miracles. Recently, I was having a conversation with a person who's very close to me, and they had called me up for some prayer, and of course, I'm going to pray for them. And I was like, so what's going on? Like, how can I pray for you? And they're telling me their situation, and man, this is like really hard, and this is like, this over here is crumbling, and we just need a miracle, brother. And I said, well, listen, I'm going to stand with you, and we're going to pray together, but can I submit something to you? And they said, sure, what is it? And I said, wisdom is better than miracles. And they were like, what? And this person is close enough to me that I could talk openly to them. I said, you know, honestly, the reason why you need a miracle is because you haven't been walking in wisdom. Like, think about this. Like, when you need a miracle, by the way, nothing wrong with miracles, but when you need a miracle, how can you be a blessing to anybody else? You're like in the pit, man. Like, God, we need a miracle. We're here in the pit. Please save us. That's how most believers go through life, and that's how most believers approach their finances. Like, hopefully God's going to break in with a miracle, when God is saying, listen, I'll give miracles if you're in a pit, right? That's part of who I am. But God's biggest will for us is not to live off of miracles. It's to live according to wisdom principles. That's why I love the life of King Solomon. I wish somebody could have revealed some of these principles to me even earlier than I received them. But thankfully, you're here today on this video, and you're going to get some of these insights from the life of King Solomon that I know when you apply them, they're going to help you tap in to potentially millions and millions and millions of dollars, just like these principles have worked for my wife and I. So now, take me by the hand and let me lead you to the financial promised land as we dive in to some of Solomon's success secrets. I'm telling you right now that these principles I'm going to share with you today can and will make you millions of dollars if you simply apply them and begin to walk in wisdom. So one amazing thing that I've learned from the life of King Solomon is I believe that God has called each and every one of his people to become a king or a queen over an assignment. You know, this false mindset, this bad theology around the idea of like, man, we should just be poor and needy and lack because we need to depend on God, so we just need to lack. Guys, I'm telling you right now, I have been on both sides. I have definitely been poor and needy, and I depended on God in that season. And now that I'm not poor and needy, now that I'm building wealth, I still need to depend on God in this season, right? Like, it's not that dependence on God goes away. It's that now I'm depending on him for different things. So when you yield your life to God, he's going to make you a king or a queen over your own assignment, not as like a pauper who's begging for bread, but as a king or a queen who says, man, let's go help people. Let's go serve people. Let's go solve problems. Let's do business out in the marketplace. Let's bring God's glory to the earth, not as beggars, like, please give us a miracle, God, but as sons and daughters, as kings and queens who rule and reign with Jesus. So let's break down King Solomon's business model. It's one of his business models, but let's break this down, okay? So let's talk about Solomon's success secrets. Let me see if I could spell that. Success secrets. That's an E. Now, something really interesting about King Solomon, if you were to look at his wealth in today's terms, okay, this is so insane. If you were to look at King Solomon's wealth in today's terms, this guy would be a multi-trillionaire. Like, take Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and all of the top wealthiest people on the planet, combine all of their wealth, all of their businesses, and King Solomon would still be tremendously worth way more than all of them. He could buy the whole entire, half the stock market. Like, the guy is just like insane wealthy. Where did all of this come from? Well, I'm telling you right now, it came from the wisdom that God gave him. Why am I trying to give you this wisdom today? Because I don't want you to continue going around the mountain just believing God for another financial miracle. What would happen if you were to actually tap in to this biblical wisdom and simply start applying it? Here's something that you need to consider as we dive into the life of King Solomon. Okay, God's principles, they're principles that just work. Think about this, okay? Gravity doesn't care if you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're tall, if you're short, if you're big, if you're small, if you are an elephant, if you're a mouse. Like, gravity doesn't care. It just works because it's one of God's principles that he has set in nature. The same thing goes for God's principles in business, in wealth, and in success. The wisdom principles that I'm about to share with you from the life of King Solomon, same thing. They don't care if you're a man. They don't care if you're a woman. They don't care what you look like. They don't care what your business is. If you simply tap into these business wisdom principles from the life of King Solomon, they will work for you. The one thing I always tell my students is this: God's principles are literally success's automation. If you want to be successful in life and you want to do it easily, just do God's wisdom principles from the Bible in your money, in your finances, and in your business, okay? So now that we've established, okay, King Solomon, he's a super successful guy. It's come from wisdom, right? And not only that, the Bible literally says that all of the people in Solomon's house, they were at such an elevated level of excellence that it literally blew the mind of the Queen of Sheba. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but when you get wealthy through God's wisdom, it shouldn't just be about you and yours. This is where a ton of people miss it, is they're in such struggle mode. I need a miracle, right? They're still in that mode so deep that they can only think of themselves. But when you tap into God's wisdom for your finances, for your wealth, for your business, for your family, when you tap into God's wisdom, something incredible happens. You're no longer just like focused on like, I gotta get my miracle. I gotta make a little bit of money. Now you start building not just for your family and not just for your generation, but you start building for your kids. Then you start building for your children's children. And then literally like Solomon, the people around you, they get elevated as well, right? Like a rising tide lifts all ships. When we ride the rising tide of God's wisdom in our life, in our family, in our business, in our wealth, in our finances, then everybody around us should also go up. I've seen this in my own life with my team, with my staff members. The more wisdom I can tap into and apply, it benefits everyone around me. That's what you should be going after as you dive in to these success principles, okay? So speaking of the Queen of Sheba, check this out. 1 Kings chapter 10, okay? Here's the first of Solomon's success secrets. Now, this isn't every success secret, but these are some of them. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 10. Okay, this is the story of when the Queen of Sheba came to see Solomon. Literally, the Bible says that when she saw his servants, when she saw their uniforms, when she saw his cupbearers, like literally everyone around him, and this is just a fun little fact, go in and read what King Solomon's throne room looked like. It was absolutely like extra times a trillion because he had like 12 lions coming up the stairs up to his throne. Like absolutely insane, right? Just everywhere you look, there's gold everywhere. Everyone's wise. Everyone's excellent. And it was so insane that it literally says that it took the breath from the Queen of Sheba. Like it took her breath away, right? One version says that she fainted. She fell out. It was like so much excellence and wisdom and riches. She just fell out, right? And so this is the context of what we're seeing here. And so King Solomon has so much wisdom. And honestly, guys, it's not like he's more special than you or me. It's just that he asked God for wisdom. When you start asking God for wisdom, God is going to give you wisdom. It's James chapter 1, verse 5. Like, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God who gives to all abundantly, right? Like, any of us can tap into this. And so he's got so much wisdom, and there's so much excellence, and there's so much riches all around him. The Bible literally says in 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 10, it says that all the kings of the earth begin to come and consult with him. So I don't know exactly how it happened, but Solomon is putting wisdom out into the planet, maybe while they're trading corn, maybe while they're trading herbs and spices, maybe while they're doing sales and I send you gold and you send me the camels or the chariots, whatever it is, right? Maybe Solomon is putting out proverbs on those caravans. Maybe he's sending out content, but however it happened, the whole earth is buzzing with the man's wisdom. Like, this is insane. And so much so that Solomon began to consult his contemporary. So let's come over here to the board and check this out, okay? So King Solomon, one of the ways that he was successful is he was the king of consulting, okay? He was a king of consulting. Here's something that you really need to consider, okay? You need to teach the people who are behind you and charge them. So many times my students come to me, especially the beginners. They're like, this is cool. I'm ready to make money online. Like, I'm ready to start my business. I just don't know what my niche is. I don't know who I would serve. And the easiest way to find that out is to simply serve the people who are where you were 5 to 10 years ago. Like, it's literally that simple. Like, well, where were you at 5 to 10 years ago? What were you struggling with? Now you're out of that season. Now you're doing better in that specific area. What do you wish you would have knew then that you know now? All you got to do is consult those contemporaries and charge them. So pretty interesting. I actually consult my contemporaries as well. I have a program for beginners who want to get started with their business. They want to leave the 9-to-5. They want an opportunity to learn how to create wealth online. I teach those kind of people. I have a second program where I literally help business owners whose businesses are stuck at $50,000 to $70,000 per month. I help them scale to 6 and even multiple 6 figures, even 7 figures per month. And then my premium offer, it's a $100,000 program where I literally copy my business and I give it to people, to those clients who pay the 100K. And honestly, we have multiple clients in all of those programs, and I consult my contemporaries, and I charge them for the information, the knowledge, the wisdom that God's given me. I consult them and I charge them, and it's one of the ways that we create streams of income. And if I can do it, you can do it. If Solomon did it, you can do it. And you might be watching here going, well, you're saying like teach the people who are behind you and charge them, but Solomon didn't charge them. I submit to you, go check it out. In 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 10, the Queen of Sheba, just in gold alone, the Queen of Sheba paid King Solomon $200 million just in gold alone. This isn't counting the silver, the spices, everything else. And it's really interesting because I don't believe it was just a one-off like, hey, Queen of Sheba, I guess I'll just charge you $200 million and you can come consult with me. Because here's the thing, guys, in 1 Kings chapter 9, verse 14, it says that Hiram, who is another king, also paid Solomon $200 million worth of gold alone. You might be sitting here going like, what? Solomon just taught everybody for free. No, he didn't. Solomon taught those who were behind him. He consulted his contemporaries and he charged them. I need at least 10 people in the comments to say charge them. Why do we charge people? See, because people in the body of Christ, we have this misunderstanding when it comes to charging people or giving stuff for free. A lot of people use the context of Matthew chapter 8, like freely you receive, freely give, brother. Like you shouldn't charge anybody for everything. It should all be free. But the problem with that theology is that is in regards to spiritual things. In Matthew chapter 8, it literally says, heal the sick, cleanse the leper, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely you've received, freely give. It's not talking about business. It's not talking about money. It's not talking about helping people with your knowledge and bringing a transformation to their life. It's saying spiritual things. Spiritual things. Freely you've received spiritual things. Freely you should give spiritual things. But business, but consulting, but bringing transformation and value to people's lives, you should charge them. In fact, Solomon wasn't scared to say, guys, my fee, it's $200 million. If you want to come consult with me, it's $200 million. And honestly, he probably said it's only $200 million. How do I know this? Because of what we're going to get into in the next 2 of Solomon's success secrets. It's pretty mind-blowing. Let's come back to the board. Check this out. So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to consult your contemporaries, just like King Solomon, and you got to charge them. The second thing, this is really interesting. 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 23 and 24 literally says that all the kings of the earth came to consult with Solomon. So here's a mind-blowing piece about this, okay? When you start consulting your contemporaries, number one, you've got to consult them and charge them. But number two, when you do this, something incredible happens. All of these people who you help, just like King Solomon, all the kings of the earth. So maybe at this time, maybe there was 100 nations on the planet. Who knows, right? Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But what if 100 nations came to King Solomon, 100 kings from 100 nations or queens, and all of them are paying him $200 million each? Like, And this is just one stream of income. That's just from his consulting. But here's the crazy part. 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 23, 24. It says, all the kings of the earth came to consult with him. Okay, but here's the thing. And it also begins to say, and they sent their people to consult with him. So let me submit something to you, okay? I don't know about you, but right now, there are probably, by the end of this video's life cycle, there's going to be thousands and thousands of people who listen to this training. And it's cool because I do the training one time and thousands of people are able to hear it. It's kind of a new school digital version of standing on a stage and going on a microphone and getting a room full of people together and you give a talk and you help people. Well, think about it back in King Solomon's day, okay? Like there's no way, I have thousands of students, okay? And there's no way I can give one-on-one coaching and consulting to every single one of my students. So I become a communicator to crowds. Watch this, okay? So 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 23. Not only did Solomon consult his contemporaries, in fact, I'm going to put this here. Okay, not only did he consult his contemporaries, but number two, he was a communicator to crowds. I say Solomon was the king of communication. He was a communicator to crowds. Okay? So the second thing you've got to do to build your business and start creating infinite wealth like King Solomon, you've got to consult your contemporaries, teach the people who are where you were 5 years ago, help bring a transformation to their life and charge them. Number two, you've got to start communicating to crowds. Now think about this, back in King Solomon's day, okay? There's no way I could help my thousands of students one-on-one. So what do? I figure out ways how to communicate to crowds. Same thing goes. I believe same thing goes for the life of King Solomon. I believe that King Solomon, with all the kings of the earth coming, there's no way Solomon could have consulted not just hundreds of kings and queens and all their thousands upon tens of thousands upon hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that they sent to him. I believe that Solomon communicated to crowds. Have you ever been to Europe or, ancient Greece, some of these places, Rome, where they have these big, beautiful Colosseums? And it's so mind-blowing, man. You go and you stand at the bottom of this Colosseum and you say a word. You're not even projecting very hard. You just say a word, and wherever you're standing at in the Colosseum, you can hear what I'm saying. I believe that King Solomon, because he was a man of wisdom, right? He learned how to communicate to crowds. If you want to go to the next level in your business, in your finances, in your money, then you've got to learn how to stop slowing wealth down by trying to talk just to one person at a time. You've got to start figuring out how to communicate to crowds, how to communicate the good thing that God has put on the inside of you to as many people as possible, as often as possible. When you begin to learn to communicate to crowds, you are tapping into one of Solomon's success secrets. There's no way he could have done this for hundreds of kings and queens, thousands of officials and rulers, and probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people who would come. So if you read the context in 1 Kings chapter 10, it's very obvious that Solomon probably had some kind of training going on, some kind of events going on where people would come and en masse, they would communicate to people en masse. So if Solomon did it, and it was a way that he had a stream of income, it was one of his streams of income, you need to do it too. In fact, if that's you, I need at least 10 people in the comments to say, that's me. If you're going to figure this out, if you're getting ideas right now, if you're getting value right now, I want you to drop it down in the comments, say, that's me. Okay? So the first thing you got to do is you have to consult your contemporaries. King Solomon was a king of consulting, okay? $200 million a pop per king or queen. Second thing you got to do is you've got to learn how to communicate to crowds. King Solomon was the king of communication. But watch this, okay? 1 Kings chapter 10. This is mind-blowing. 1 Kings chapter 10, verses 25, and I believe also in verse 14, okay? Remember the part where it said, all the kings of the earth came to consult with King Solomon, right? And they'd send their people to him. Well, go back and read it, because there's another part in there that is pretty mind-blowing, and it literally says this: year after year, year after year, each would come and bring their gift. What is happening right now? What does that even mean, right? So not only did King Solomon have a $200 million fee for every king or queen on the planet, okay? Not only do I believe, and if you can read through the context, you'll probably see it too, not only was there training seminars going on where all of these different nations could send their people to get trained, and they're making money from that, but the Bible literally says that they did this year after year, everyone bringing their gifts. So guess what else was happening? This is mind-blowing to me. King Solomon, he was also the king of continuity. He was a king of continuity. What is continuity, okay? You have got to learn how to increase your continuity cash flow. What's that? Well, have you ever had a Netflix account? Yes or yes? Probably yes, right? Have you ever had a subscription to Spotify or Apple Music? Probably yes, right? Have you ever had some kind of subscription? Maybe you're a woman and like once a month they send the new product to you, or maybe you have a subscription on Amazon to where they send your supplements to you every month, right? So what are these subscriptions? These are continuity. What is continuity? Continuity is dependable cash flow into your business. Here's the most mind-blowing thing about all of this, okay? King Solomon, he's consulting everybody, he's consulting his contemporaries, he's communicating to the crowds, but he's doing this on an annual basis. I believe there's probably some kind of monthly, quarterly, biannual events going on for the masses, right? And then kings and queens are coming, they're communicating to people in these seminars, right? And then he's consulting the kings and queens themselves as they come, charging them $200 million per pop. And all of this is happening consistently year after year. So the whole globe, every nation is paying Solomon a minimum of $200 million each every single year. How in the world was this guy a trillionaire? Because he was doing these 3 Bible success secrets that we now can tap into. Guys, I'm telling you right now, getting your continuity up in your business is one of the most important things that you can do in your business. In fact, if you're taking notes, write this down. If you don't have continuity in your business, right? If people are not paying you for something every single month over and over and over, if you don't have continuity, you don't have a business, right? Because continuity is the only money that you can count on. You know, for instance, let's say I teach my students how to build digital products, okay? And it's one of the things I teach my beginner students how to do, is I teach our students how to build digital products. One digital product that you could have is some kind of library, right? Where you put all your knowledge, all your expertise, you build a library of courses and content in there, and maybe you charge them, whatever, $97 a month, kind of like a Netflix type of thing, or an Amazon supplement type of thing, to where every single month they pay you over and over and over and over to have access to, in this specific case, to the library, okay? Now, here's the crazy part. If you've got 100 students in this membership and they all pay you $100 a month, then guess what? You have $10,000 coming into your business every single month for work that you did one time, right? So this whole idea of continuity is something that King Solomon and his kingdom mastered with, guys, I want to help everyone in the world. If you want to come, I will consult with you. I'll communicate to you. I'm going to charge you. And if you guys want to continue growing in wisdom over and over and over, you can all come back next year and pay me the fee again. Like, guys, I'm telling you right now, back to the board. Check this out, guys. Let's do a quick recap, okay? You've got to learn how to consult your contemporaries. Teach those who are behind you and charge them, okay? Number 2, you've got to learn how to become a communicator to crowds. If you're only doing one-to-one, wealth is going to move slow. But whenever you learn how to communicate to people en masse, wealth will speed up. And then number 3, what is a way that you can maybe start a membership, a library, a subscription of some sort, and get your continuity up so that you can have an infusion every single month of continuity cash flow. All right, guys, I'm telling you right now, if you tap in just to these 3 success secrets from the life of King Solomon, just these 3 things alone can literally make you millions and millions and millions of dollars. This is probably the most controversial video that I will be recording to date, because in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how Proverbs 13:22, where it says the wealth of the wicked has been stored up for the righteous, is not talking about unbelievers or non-Christians and Christians. This verse is not talking about the wealth of the bad people is going to be given to the good people. In fact, I'm about to show you from the Bible, the words of Jesus, that this verse is actually talking about wicked Christians' money being given to righteous Christians. What does that mean? We're talking all about it today in this video. Well, welcome back everybody to part 3 of this series, Biblical Secrets to Create Infinite Wealth. Yes, God has instituted ways for his people to create infinite amounts of wealth, but the 2 big problems are, number 1, most of his people don't believe that this is possible. And number 2, a lot of his people don't even believe that having wealth or having abundance is even good, right? In fact, if you missed part 1 and part 2 of this series, all you got to do is click the link down below in the description. We have linked both 1 and 2 together, okay? So in part 1 of this series, just a very quick recap. In part 1 of this series, I submitted to you out of Deuteronomy 8:18, where it says, remember the Lord, for it is he who has given you the power to create wealth. I submitted that maybe one of the reasons why most of God's people stay broke is because they think the only way to create wealth is with time and with effort. Most people are trading their time for dollars, but where we see here in Deuteronomy 8:18, God is not saying, I'm just going to give everybody wealth. He didn't say that. He said, I want to give you the power to create wealth. It is my conviction that God the Creator created us to be creative, and instead of trying to build wealth with our time and with our effort, God has instituted a way for his people to begin to build wealth, not with time and effort, but with our creativity, right? The same way that when God has a creative thought, he begins to speak it into existence and begin to take action, and that creative thought becomes something, is the exact same way that he intends for his people to begin to create wealth. Not this laborious slave mentality, right? I'm the worker, I'm the tail, not the head, right? I want to be an employee, not a business owner, right? Like, man, it's so hard to make money. If you're under that mentality, please, please, please go check out the first part of this series where I break all of that down, okay? Part 2 of this series, I submitted to you that perhaps one of the reasons why a lot of God's people stay broke is because a lot of God's people have conflicting internal beliefs around the subject of money. On one hand, we think that, man, would somebody please give an offering so that we can build the orphanages and send the people on the missions trips and do the work of the ministry. But on the other hand, like, don't you dare have a bunch of money, because if you do, you're bad, you're wicked, you're greedy. You know, the love of money is the root of all evil, so beware of money. And it is my conviction that one of the reasons why God's people stay broke is because they have conflicting internal beliefs around the subject of money, around what God says as far as his desire for us to prosper, to be the head and not the tail, right? To be above and not beneath. And I also submitted in part 2, and again, if you miss it, just click the link down below. I also submitted in part 2, if having a lot of money is so bad, right? If money makes us less holy, because this is what a lot of Christians think, the less money you have, the more holy you are. And that's just completely false mindset. It is a completely demonic ideology that is not from the Father, right? If less money makes us more holy, then why in the world does the Bible tell us to give to the poor? Like, if we were to give to the poor, wouldn't that take away their holiness if we were to give to them? I discuss all of this and more in part 2. So again, guys, if you miss any of those, click the link down below in the description and check out part 1, part 2 if you missed those. So let's jump right on in, and we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. What does Rick mean when he says there are wicked believers and this whole wealth of the wicked stored up for the righteous? Come with me here to the board and let's check it out, okay? Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22. If you're watching this video, you may be familiar with what it says here. It says, the wealth of the wicked has been prepared or stored up. Stored up for the righteous. Okay, so I don't know about you, but growing up, I actually heard this verse talked about many times. And the implications of this verse, the way that I was taught growing up were, God is going to take the money from the bad people, and he's going to supernaturally take all this money from the bad people, and then just, if his people just pray hard enough, if they just, worship long enough, then all of a sudden, supernaturally, God's going to poof the money from the bad people to the good people, okay? But here's what I want to submit to you in this video. Check this out. Okay, here in just a moment, I'm going to show you the words of Jesus where this word right here, wicked, I want to submit that this is not about the unbeliever. Okay, this word wicked and this word righteous, they're actually talking about two different things than just the good people and the bad people, or the unbeliever and God's people. Because here's the punchline, guys. Our God is a wise king, okay? No wise king, let alone God, is going to take money from this person and just flippantly give it to another person when both of the people have financial literacy, both of them are financially irresponsible, right? Both of them don't know how to multiply money. Neither of them know what wealth is or how to manage or steward or create wealth. Like, what wise king is just going to go, well, you're a good person, you're a bad person, even though both of you guys have these false mindsets about money, even though both of you guys and gals have never done anything to steward or multiply money. So, hey, why not? I'm just going to move it from you to you because you're bad and you're good. That's what most believers think when it comes to this verse in Proverbs 13, the wealth of the wicked stored up for the righteous. Okay, but wisdom does not work like this, guys. Wisdom does not function like this, just flippantly, like, well, because they're good and they're bad, I'm just going to move hands. No. Wisdom is the primary thing. Proverbs 4 says, in all you're getting, get wisdom. And I want to just submit to you guys that perhaps the reason why this verse has not come into fruition for you yet is because not only are you not the righteous person in this verse yet, but perhaps you might even be the wicked person in this verse. And again, hang with me here because I want to show you guys a really interesting insight out of the book of Matthew. Check this out, okay? So I'm just going to read the verse here. You guys have probably heard this passage many, many times, but in the book of Matthew chapter 25, the Bible talks about the kingdom of heaven. In fact, I'll just read it here. It says this, Matthew 25, verse 14. It says this, for the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servant. I'm going to write a couple of these context clues down for you because so many times we read this and just flippantly go by because we've heard it said 100 times growing up, okay? But the master called his servants, okay? That's the first thing I want you to see here in this verse, because even though we've heard this passage a number of times and we assume we think we know what it means, we've got to actually dive in and look at the context clues of what's really going on here. So if the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his servants, then guess what? We learn later on at the end of the passage, this is like God, right? The kingdom of heaven is, and the way that the kingdom of heaven works is like God calling his servants to himself in this part of the passage, okay? Now, I want you to think about something. If a person is willingly out there living in wickedness all the time, okay, they are not a servant of God, right? This is specifically talking about the master's servants. Like, he is our Lord, and it is our joy and our pleasure to serve him and his kingdom. The master is calling us, the believers, his servants. Okay, so I want you to take note of this, that this is not talking about just any random person. This is talking about the master's servants, his people. Okay, so take note there, very interesting. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants, and watch this, and delivered his goods to them. Okay, now a lot of times, this passage of scripture, when it comes to the parable of the talents, a lot of times it is preached, it is taught that talents are actual, your talent, your ability, your charisma. God's given everybody a little gift. But I want you to look deeper into this passage here. There's a number of different versions. Actually, say it correctly. The master is giving these servants gold. Okay? It's not just saying like your charisma, your talent. The master is literally entrusting money. And in this specific case, talents, and I'm going to break this down here in just a second. Let's keep going. Okay? So the master comes, calls his servants, delivers to them his goods. Other versions say his property, and other versions say his gold or bags of gold. Okay? And to one he gave 5 talents. You guys know this part. To another he gave 2, and to another he gave 1. Now watch this next part, okay? Each according to his own ability. In fact, I'm going to write this down. This is another context clue. Each according to his or hers own ability. Okay, so what does this mean? Now, here in just a moment, we're going to see that the way that God expects for his people to deal with money is not in a lazy way. It's not in a passive way. It's not in this way that's like, oh man, money's just like terrible. Like, man, we don't want anybody to have too much money because money makes you greedy, and the love of money is the root of all evil. However, would you please give an offering because we want to send people out to the orphanage. We want to build the orphanages. We want to adopt the orphans. We want to rescue people. We need the building fund, but like, don't make money, right? Like, so God's people are completely confused about this thing. But the punchline is this: perhaps the reason why you don't have more when it comes to your finances is because you don't possess the ability to steward them yet. I'm telling you guys, there's so much in this passage, okay? Each according to his or her own ability. Some of us have lower abilities to manage finances. Some of us are a little bit more. Some of us have a lot. And then some of us are way up here, or we're pushing to be way up here because we want to learn how money works, and especially what God thinks about money and how God says money works, okay? So take mental note of this, each according to his or her own ability, okay? Now watch this. And immediately the man went on his journey. Verse 16, then he who had received the 5 talents went and traded them immediately and made another 5 talents. Pause right here. Could it be the reason why you are not able to multiply the finances that you have now is because you're not doing this? Another context clue. The one with 5 took immediate action. Too many people are like, man, maybe next year, maybe next season. A lot of God's people are all just sitting around waiting for another word. Like, man, as soon as the next word comes in, I have no reason why the last word didn't happen. But man, if I could just get another word. God's not going to give you another word till you do something with the last word, right? Like, we've really got to start getting the mind of Christ when it comes to money, guys. When it comes to our destiny, when it comes to finances, because if all you're going to do is just sit around and wait, like maybe one day out there and hopefully one day, and God, hopefully one day God's going to move. It's not about us waiting for God to move. God is waiting for us to move. This one who took the 5 and doubled it, the Bible literally says he took immediate action. He went immediately. You got to stop having this mindset like, well, one day out there, God's going to, or God's getting ready to. It's not that he's getting ready to. It's not that he's going to. It's that Ephesians actually says it like this. Now, to him who is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all you could ask, think, or imagine according to his power that works in you. It says, now to him who is able. Too many of God's people, when it comes to their financial destiny, when it comes to building wealth, not just for them, but for their kids and their kids' kids or children's children, they're waiting for next season. They're waiting for tomorrow when God is saying, I'm ready right now. Now he is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all you could ask, think, or imagine. God does not live in this realm of maybe. God does not live in this realm of, man, maybe next season, maybe. God's saying now, take immediate action. If I told you to do something, go do it immediately. In fact, I need at least 10 people in the comments right here to say it like this. Action takers are money makers. Okay? It takes action, guys. Faith without works, faith without action is dead. If God gives you a little breadcrumb of an inspiration or a nugget or a word, take that thing and just start going for it. Don't wait until you have, oh, well, I need 32 more pieces of the puzzle to come together. That's not faith, man. Anyways, I will digress here, but let's keep moving on, okay? So check this out. The one with 5, he took the talents and immediately went and started trading them, made another 5, verse 17. And likewise, he who had received 2 gained 2 more. But watch this. But he who had received 1 went and dug a hole in the ground and hid his Lord's money. Again, this is not talking here about your talent, your charisma, your special gift that God gave you. Yes, God gives talents, he gives gifts, he gives charisma. But the context here is about money, okay? And let me break this down for you, okay? So the Bible literally says here, he gave 1 5 talents, 1 2 talents, and 1 talent. What was a talent? In Bible days, now all of this can be verified with just simple Google searches. Come with me here to the board. A talent in the Bible was worth 6,000 denarii. Okay, now what was a denarii? A denarii, I believe I'm spelling it right. A denarii was worth 1 day's wage. Interesting. So you're telling me that not only is this verse not talking about people's charisma, their special gift, their ability, it's actually talking about money, and not just a little bit of money. Watch this. If a denarii is worth 1 day's wage and the master entrusted 5 talents, okay, so 5 talents, this would equal to be 5, 10, 15, 25, this would equal to be 30,000 denarii, okay? I'm just doing the math here in my head. This would come out to be roughly $6 million. Okay? The one with 2 talents, okay? This would equal to be about 12,000 denarii. Okay? That would come out to be about $2.4 million. Okay? And then the one with 1, obviously that's 6,000 denarii. And that would come out to be about 1.2 million. Now, these numbers are a little bit arbitrary because obviously, there's inflation, and this one, this is worth a little bit more today as far as gold. Gold's worth this much today and that much yesterday, and a little here, a little there, but more or less in the ballpark, okay? The master left $6 million roughly to the one with 5, 2.4 roughly to the one with 2, and 1.2 roughly to the one with 1. Guys, this is talking about money. Talents are denaries, guys. Okay, denaries was a 1 day's wage. So please, as we move forward in the training today, be anchored in this thought. It's not just like, oh, God's going to give everybody a cool gift, and if you can do something with your gift, then maybe you're going to be found faithful, okay? Yes, but specifically here, this passage is talking about money. Let's continue to move on because it gets even more incredible here. There's so much here, okay? So anyways, the one with one went and dug a hole, buried it in the ground, hid his Lord's money. Watch this. After a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. Again, another context clue. He's the master of these servants. Okay? Wicked people would not call themselves a servant of the Most High. Okay? Could God use a wicked person to do his will? Sure. But generally speaking, are wicked people servants of God? No, they would not identify as servants of God, and God probably is not looking at, wicked people as his servants, like, hey, you're my servants, you're my people. He's not looking at them like that, okay? So again, these are all God's people. The one with 5, the one with 2, and the one with 1, they're all God's people. Continue on here with me, okay? Verse 20, he who had received the 5 came and brought back 5 more talents, saying, Lord, you delivered me 5, and look, I've gained 5 more talents besides these. The master said to him, well done, watch this, well done, good and faithful servant. Let's write this context clue. This is an important one, okay? When the servant multiplied what the master had entrusted to him, the master responded back with, well done, good and faithful servant. Now, where else do we see this language at? Well done, good and faithful. Oh yes, this is where the Father at the end of the age, where God's people stand before him in righteous judgment, and to the righteous, if they have been righteous in his sight, guess what he says? Well done, good and faithful servant. So God is connecting righteousness, this well done, good and faithful servant, this idea of righteousness, he's connecting it to the person who actually said, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do something with this money. I'm going to go double what God has put in me. Because how many of y'all know everything that God does, it's not in addition, it's in multiplication. Every single thing that God touches, every single thing that God puts intention behind is to multiply. And how do we know this? Because in the book of Genesis, he told Adam and Eve, guys, go out there, be fruitful and add. No, he didn't say that, right? He said, be fruitful and multiply. Why did God give Adam and Eve this mandate of multiplication? Because this is who God is. God is not just addition, he's everything I do is multiplication. And I want to submit to you that this financial literacy that is becoming available to you through these videos, through other people, right? You've got to take it. You've got to take immediate action on what you're learning, and you've got to learn how to multiply this stuff, guys. God did not intend for us just to be slaves to a system. God did not just intend for us to be the tail and not the head. God did not intend for us just to be the borrower. He wants us to make so much that we can also be the lender. But God's people, they are so scared of money, right? They're so scared about, well, beware of the love of money. Yes, but beware of not growing your financial literacy, your financial ability, each according to his own ability. Beware of not growing your ability, your capacity, your financial intelligence to not be able to know what to do with the money. Beware of that. Yes, beware of the love of money, but most people need to beware of, I don't know what to do with money because I don't know how money works and I don't know how to multiply it. I don't know how to steward it. So we're just going to be down here praying really hard. Hopefully God's going to supernaturally poof some of the money from the bad people into my account and poof it into my account because I'm a good person. Right? I'm getting on my soapbox. Let's keep going here. Okay? So we see this here to the ones who multiplied, okay, he said, well done, good and faithful servant. Then he goes on to say, you have been faithful over a few things, and I will make you ruler over many things. Interesting. Perhaps the reason why you don't have many things when it comes to your finances is because you've not learned yet how to be faithful over the little you got. And again, in God's world, faithfulness is not just like, well, we're just kind of keeping up with it. No. We're going to see here in a second. Faithfulness is not just like, well, we're kind of just here surviving. No. God's saying, no. Faithfulness in my eyes is multiplication. Multiplication. I need at least 10 people in the comments to drop this word, multiplication. Okay? And how do I know that? Keep reading here with me. So the one with 5 doubles it. He says, well done, good and faithful servant. The one with 2 doubles it. He says, well done, good and faithful servant. Verse 24. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you were a hard man. Now, let's pause right there. Okay? Pause right there. Context clue. Okay? The master is a quote-unquote hard man. What does this mean? Too many believers are so flippant with how they think money is going to be given to them. You know, most believers are just like, well, my father owns the cattle on 1,000 hill and he's going to supernaturally just provide me a miracle, right? But that is not in alignment with what Matthew 25 is saying here. The master is a hard man. And what does that mean? Let's continue to see here what that means, okay? He said, Master, I knew that you were a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. Okay, so here's the punchline, okay? As believers, we need to stop being so flippant about just like, oh, we just need money, God. I need a financial breakthrough. I need a miracle. And God's saying, you more than a financial breakthrough, more than a financial miracle, more than you like only crying out in prayer. Prayer is awesome, and please continue to cry out in prayer. But more than that, you need to go take immediate action. You need to grow your knowledge. You need to grow your skill. You need to increase your own ability, each according to his own ability. And you need to stop being what he says here. Actually, before I get ahead of myself, okay? So the master wants to reap even where he didn't sow. He wants to gather even where he didn't sow seeds. And this is the next part here. The one with 1, he says, I knew you're a hard man, reaping where you had not sown, gathering where you had not scattered seed. Watch this. I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, here, just have what's yours. But the master answered him, you wicked and lazy servant. Wicked? Wait, this is the master's servant. Context clue, let's check it out.
Hey, real quick, if you've made it this far into the video and you're liking it, do me a favor, share this video with somebody that you think might also receive some value. My biggest heart in this channel is to simply bring some awareness, financial literacy, and do it all from a biblical perspective. So go ahead and share the video, like and subscribe, do all that stuff too. Back to the video.
Okay, so to the one who was lazy, okay? The one who was like, man, I don't want to go figure this thing out. It's too hard. I'm just going to hope the master takes it easy on me. The master, he's a quote-unquote hard man. He expects more of us. And when the one who didn't multiply the money that the master entrusted to him, he called him wicked and lazy. Perhaps the reason why many of God's people stay broke is because they are too lazy to try to figure out this money thing. Because they're so preoccupied by being prosperity police, making sure I don't have a lot of money. Like if you have too much money, you're greedy, and beware of the love of money, everybody. On the same token, on the different side of the same token, they're also saying, God, please give me a financial miracle. Oh God, break in with miracles. Listen, it's not God's will for us to live off of miracles alone. It was not God's will for his people to live off of manna alone. It was God's will for his people
to not be lazy, but to be strong and very courageous, and to actually go take the land, fight giants, take fortified cities, and not live off of the leftover, just like, well, if this is all you want to do, I'll meet you here. I'll meet you in the just enough. But only those who experience me as the more than enough actually are going to go slay giants in the land, right? But too many of God's people, like Matthew 25 says here, they're wicked and they're lazy. Okay, so don't be lazy about like, well, I don't want to have to figure out all this money stuff. I don't want to have to figure out, how to save on my taxes. I don't want to have to figure out how to open up a trust. I don't want to have to figure out how to invest. I don't want to have to figure out how to start businesses and create wealth. I don't want to have to do that. Like, that's too much. Like, I'm pretty decent here. I'm comfortable here where I'm at. Or maybe you're not comfortable. But the punchline is this. Don't be lazy about it, because if you're lazy about it, the master called him wicked. And watch this next part. This is so mind-blowing to me. Okay? The one with one here. Have what's yours, master. Then the master said to him, you wicked and lazy servant. You knew I reap where I've not sown, and I gather where I've not scattered seed. You ought to have deposited the money. There it is again. It's not a skill. It's not a special gift. It's not God's going to give you some cool thing. It's money here. You should have deposited my money with the bankers, and at least you could have brought back some interest. He's like, you didn't do anything? Like, you literally didn't do anything. You just sat there like, hopefully the master's going to come back and rescue me. You didn't do anything? You should have at least went and invested it and did a little bit with it. Nothing? And the next part is, this is the punchline of the whole entire video. Watch this. So you should have at least went and deposited my money and came back and gave me interest. So watch this. Take the talent from him with one and give it to the one with 10. Look at this. Remember the one who was not lazy because they went and took immediate action, okay? Because they had grown their own ability. The one who multiplied the 5, he said, well done, good and faithful servant. And the one who was too lazy to try to figure it out, he called him wicked. Well, guess what? In this story, the wealth of the wicked was stored up for the righteous. What? What is going on here? Like, these are not like just the bad people, unbelievers, people who don't love Jesus. These are the master's servants. And he called some of them wicked. Why? Because some of the servants in the master's kingdom, they are too lazy to go try to figure out this money thing. And because they're too lazy, they are stuck in poverty. They're stuck in lack. They're stuck in, man, I wish I could do better for my family, but I don't want to, like, we're decently comfortable. Like, we can't really give the way we want to give because we just have barely enough. Or I don't want to have too much money because if you have too much, it makes you greedy. And I just want to be comfortable. Listen, one of the most selfish things that you could aspire to do is just have enough. The Bible literally says, the first part of Proverbs 13:22 says, a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And then the next part says, and the wealth of the wicked stored up for the righteous. Okay? So why is this important? Because if all you aspire to do in your life is be lazy about this money thing and like, well, maybe the Lord, the Father with the cattle on 1,000 hills, I'll just pray and maybe something will poof into my account, right? If that's you, because that's where most Christians are at right now, okay, then the problem is this. I just want just enough. I just want to be comfortable. I don't want to have too much. The problem with just enough, the problem with just comfortable, I just want to be comfortable, is that in that case, Proverbs 13:22, a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. You can't be righteous by just having enough. If you just have enough, how are you going to leave? Yes, it's a spiritual inheritance, but the Bible is clearly saying a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, and in the same breath, the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. Righteous and righteous, it's in the same verse, okay? And I just showed you here, in this context,
A righteous person who is not lazy with figuring out this money thing, with starting businesses, with believing that I really am the head and not the tail, and it's not just going to be some, woo-woo, super spiritual, I prayed, I did a 40-day fast, and then poof, money just came into my life. It doesn't happen like that. You've got to take immediate action on the knowledge that God is giving to you, and you have to increase your ability so that you can become a wonderful steward, a good and faithful servant, and not a wicked and lazy servant. Let's finish off here. This is so interesting at the end. Okay, so after he says, so take the talent of him who has and give it to the one who has 10. Now watch this. This next part is even more mind-blowing. Okay? These are the words of Jesus. This is mind-blowing to me. Then he goes on to say this, for to everyone who has, more will be given. But him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. What? Do you remember this part here where we were talking about how the master, he's a quote unquote hard man, right? So you need to change this idea that like, well, when it comes to my money, man, I'm just going to hopefully something's going to supernaturally poof into my account. Like, no. That's not how this works. The master is a quote unquote hard man. The master is saying, hey, if you want more, you have to become more. And then you have to do more so that you can have more and that you can give more. Okay? So that you can help more. This isn't just going to be this flippant thing. God is a wise king who's not just flippantly changing money through the hand of this one to that one, who's just as financially illiterate as the next guy, who's just as financially irresponsible as the next guy, who doesn't know how credit works as much as the next guy, who hasn't started a business just like the next guy. Like, God is a wise king he's looking. God is looking. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who went on a journey. God is looking for servants that he can entrust wealth and riches and prosperity to, right? He's looking for those who are going to say, you know what, whatever you've given me, I'm going to go figure this thing out. I'm going to go multiply it. I'm going to take immediate action. I'm not going to be lazy about this. I'm actually going to figure this out. And for those people, that's who the Bible says, those are the righteous. Those are the well done, good and faithful servants. And for the rest of God's people, they're still God's people. They're still his servants. But for the rest of those who are like, I don't want to figure that out. And I'm just going to read my Bible more. I'm just going to pray more. That's good. Read your Bible more. Pray more. But don't be lazy. That's the words of Jesus. Don't be lazy about this whole money thing. Because if you are, when the master comes to settle accounts, he's going to find you, quote unquote, wicked in this sense. Okay? Guys, there's the training today. I hope you liked it. If you got some value out of this today, drop some fire emojis. Share this with somebody who needs to see it. Someone that you maybe been having this conversation with or you've been wondering about. Okay, go ahead and share this video. And make sure to check out the next video here on the screen. Like and subscribe if you want to continue to see more information, more content like this. And we'll see you in the next training. Peace.